What's up guys, welcome back to a new video. Very excited for this one. As you can tell, I have an Nvidia 4070. A big thank you to those guys for sending this out for me to look at. I've been really excited to look at some 40 series cards, and this isn't the only one that I might have in the office to cover, so stay tuned for some other content as well. But today we're going to do an unboxing and overview of the 4070. This is a Founders Edition, retails for £5.99 and £5.89 in the UK. We're also going to do some testing in this video as well to show you what benefits you can get from using DLSS 3. So that's Nvidia Super Resolution, Frame Generation, and also Nvidia Reflex. So those three things combined to give you the 3 in DLSS. We're going to do some other content with this as well. I'm going to do some builds, and also I'm going to see about getting my suite sorted out for an actual review, because I know there's a lot of talk about this card, about price and performance and things, especially compared to the 3080. So I might look at doing that as well. But for now, let's get into this. I'll tell you some more specs as we go. So on the side we have some little tear things to open this up. So we're going to be doing these. We've got one on each side. The 4070, this is the Ada Lovelace architecture. I keep thinking Ada Wong anytime I hear Ada. Been playing a lot of Resident Evil, as you can tell. So the base clock of this card is 1219, and you've also got a boost of 2475, and then 5888 cores. I think the best way for me to open this is actually with the front camera, because just the way it opens. So we've got a triangle design that opens up to then show the card at 45 degrees. Very cool. This is actually the first time that I've had a Founders card as well. I really do like the design of the Founders cards. Be it this one is a lot smaller as well, so it might suit for more compact cases. So of course, there is a card. Let's take that out, pop that to the side for the minute. Then there's a bit more to the box because it is a 40 series card. So we've got a little section that comes out, and then a little insert. And then inside here we shall find some information. It's like a little kind of quick start guide that folds out, some product support. And then we'll also find our adapter, which is two 8-pins to then the 16-pin or 12-volt high power adapter with the little extra 4 on the back there. Sounds nice, factory fresh. It's obviously a very different fan design from the AIB cards that generally have 2 fans on underneath, or even 3 for some cases, like the tough cards. But this one obviously has one you can see visible on the top, so that'll be blowing down, and then you've got one that goes up as well. And then that will go through to the back. While we're here, we've got 3 display ports. These are 1.4A, and we've got an HDMI on the end, which is 2.1. Generally speaking, the 40 series supports up to 8K with 4 displays. Going back round, we have the 16-pin connector. Now, we looked at the Cyberpunk PC that has the 16-pin connector in the 4080 that's in there, but this is the first time I'll actually plug one in myself. So let's just do this. Just kind of pop that 16-pin cherry. So there you go. That will now probably live in there, because I'm probably going to use it with adapters. Those of you that just want a nice look around the card, I'm just going to slowly just rotate it, because I think, like I said before, that the Founder cards are really quite something special in just the design and how they are engineered. $240mm long, so a lot smaller than obviously all the other 40 series cards we've seen so far. This is a 3080 Tough edition. Compared to that, it's just absolutely dwarfed. So it's going to be really appealing to you guys that want to do small form factor builds, as even the Tough you can get in some smaller cases, so this is going to be no problem at all. On the topic of small form factors, this is only a 200 watt card, whereas the 3080 was a 320. You only need a 550 to run this as well, so a lot less power hungry than the last generation. We've got 4th generation Tensor cores, 3rd generation RT cores, and new streaming processors that gives you up to 2 times performance and power efficiency, twice the AI performance, and twice the ray tracing capabilities. So I'm going to do my usual benchmarking suite of games, and we've also got some new ones that will take advantage of DLSS 3, so Cyberpunk 2077, Portal RTX. There's also another one that I can't quite remember off the top of my head, but we'll show you when we get there. But I'm looking forward to this, so let's get this into a system and do some benchmarks. So while I get the 4090 installed, I'm just going to run you across my test bench here. This is what I use for all of my graphics cards, so everything stays the same and fair across whatever we test. So this is a Intel 12900K at stock on the Asus Z690 Hero. We've got 32GB of 5600 mega transfers DDR5 Kingston Fury Beast. That's lined up and clicked in. We've also got a Corsair H170i Elite LCD cooler, and then we've got a Seagate Fire Cooler 530 SSD for our storage. So I've got my two 8-pin to 12-pin high power adapter. We'll just connect these together. Like so. And then we'll give it a little bit of a bend. Plug into the 4070. So I'm going to get this now all turned on, get the drivers and things up to date, and then we can start on our benchmarks. So on to Cyberpunk 2077, obviously one of the most demanding games that we've currently got on PC, and this is where we're going to really see the benefits from DLSS. So we're going to go for a ray tracing medium setting. We're going to turn all this off so you can confirm that there's nothing going on with DLSS to begin with, and apply it. I've got frame view in the corner as well, so you can see just what kind of FPS we're going to get with no settings or anything changed. So currently we're sitting about 40 frames, and of course nowadays 60 frames is kind of the standard you'd like to see, so we are below that. So now we'll go into our settings, turn DLSS frame generation on, super resolution. I'm going to go for performance, and then sharpness I do have at 80, it is default by 50, but I do like a little bit more sharpness there as well. So now if we apply those settings, we're now almost 3 times the frames a second, currently at 113, and it still looks as good as it did. It's incredible how one setting and the AI that is implemented can just generate so many frames. It's incredible. This is my first time I've actually used DLSS on a 40 series card, and just in general as well. So to experience this with you guys is pretty phenomenal. So we're literally at 3 times the frames that we were a minute ago, or while we're being run down by a car. You could of course bring your settings down a little bit more as well if you wanted to go for a 144 Hz monitor. So then you're matching your frame rate with the monitor as well, so it'll be nice and buttery smooth. But saying that, even 100 frames at this quality is just absolutely gorgeous. I'm actually very impressed for my first time using DLSS at how well it does this. Incredible. I'm going to get out of the car, just have a look around again, because it's really quite stunning. So this is an AI feature that's making such high frames. So let's try another game now. I think we'll go for Portal Ray Tracing and see how that looks. Okay, so onto Portal RTX. Now this works a little bit differently from your standard settings. You have to go to Alt and then X, which bring up this overlay. So again, I'm going for DLSS off, just to see what kind of frames we get before. And we're currently setting around 25 frames. Because this is obviously ray trace as well, it's very demanding for our graphics card. And as you can tell, it's not very nice to play at the moment. So you have all the ray trace textures and things, but it is very difficult for it to run, and it just doesn't feel very nice to play. So now we're going to start again, but this time I'm going to turn DLSS 3 on, save the settings, close, and we're now at 95 frames, 91, 95, 94. Absolutely incredible. So 3 times the performance straight away. Little Easter egg alert, there's also a 4090 there. I love one of those. Please, Nvidia. Now while I just do this bit, I just want to mention that there are so many games that are having DLSS added. Lord of the Rings was one that was literally added today as I'm filming this. So there are more and more games that are getting DLSS put into them, which is really cool. I'm so surprised by the difference it makes with the frame rate. Especially on Cyberpunk, literally tripled the frames to go from something that's pretty potato at 40 frames up to 120. Just with a couple of changes on your settings is crazy. This is looking great though. We've not actually got that far in, but look at that bloom. Even the kind of glass on the top of the button as well looks so cool. Even when we're looking at the higher ray trace parts of this map as well, we're only dipping to about 80, so the way that light bounces as well, absolutely gorgeous to see this game in such a high quality. So we are sitting around 80 frames for this one. Obviously you can bring your settings down if you want a higher frame rate, but now we're going to move on to another game that takes advantage of DLSS. So let's have a look at that one. So Plague Tale is another game that supports DLSS. Currently we've got it off, so we're going to go for a before and then after. We've got a graphics preset of medium. Let's turn it up actually. We can go higher than that. Let's go for high and see how we get on. So into the game, we're running at 60 frames a second, so pretty much console basis at the moment. But for a high setting, that's not too bad. But of course, we do have the options to go into and enable DLSS. So let's have a look at what we can do with this. So let's turn it on to, I think we'll go for performance again. And then we'll turn the frame generation on. Leave everything else as is. So 60 frames, instant jump to 150. Wow. So I've gone for a balance setting to get a little bit more quality and a little bit more sharpness out of it. We've got about 140 frames. So now we're, 2 1/3 what we were at before. Now up to 160 frames. Now you do lose a little bit of the sharpness from the image that we did see before we had DLSS on. But to be fair, I'd much rather have such a buttery smooth experience than, standard console kind of frame rate. So very, very good. So now I think we'll go into our usual benchmarks with games, just for you guys that know the ones that I usually run. And you can also see what kind of frame rates you can expect from one of these cards over what you're currently running in your PC. So Apex Legends, we've gone for the highest preset as we generally do. Just crank it up. It's not overly demanded in the space of games that we've been testing today. So we'll see how we get on with this. I'm going to guess about 160 frames, something like that. Maybe a little bit less when we drop in. So we're higher up with frames a second than I thought. So we're currently at 165, there's 195. So we've already got a higher FPS than I thought we would, even while we're dropping in. So that's a good thing. When we touch down to the floor, maybe we'll go up to about the 240s, 250s. So 225, 275. Oh yeah, we're well away with this, crikey. But we're almost touching 300 frames, and this is literally cranked as well. So I'm well impressed so far. Let's see if we can get some kills. Come on. All of this time we were around 250 frames, going up to 280. So that's a lot higher than I was expecting, to be perfectly honest with you guys. I was expecting maybe low 200, something like that. So this is doing a lot better than I thought. So pretty impressed. Now let's move on. Let's do Valorant next. So Valorant, we know is not the most demanding game that's available, but we will show you guys the benchmarks regardless. I reckon we're going to go high 600 frames. Let's just, let's go nuts, because it's, more than likely going to happen. So now 500 frames there, 600. So I thought I was going to be close. Something a little bit more to render. 550, 598. Yeah, it's a piece of cake. So I don't think we need to really show much more of that. We can move on to our next one. So on to Dirt 5 Playground Event, and we're going to go for, again, highest preset we possibly can. 180 frames, 170 there. Automatically we're hitting those numbers for G-Sync, so that's always nice. Let's actually try and do a little bit of a better race this time as well. 180 frames still. Can I actually make it to the top of this thing? Every video so far has been a no. I don't think that's going to change somehow. There's been no dips below 170 frames that I've seen as of yet, so always a good sign. You're going to see at least 170 frames with this card. So very, very good. So onto Crisis, I'm going to go for a very high setting. Let's turn DLSS off, as this is another supported title, just to see what we get before. And then we can do a little comparison after as well. So I'm actually in the midst of all the action, so we're at 118 frames while I got KO'd there. Just loading in. Let's run up here, see what we're going to get, about 100. So let's just continue just doing some shooting. 120 frames, not looking at the counter there. Now let's just quickly change and pop DLSS on. We'll go for performance again. No motion blur. I did turn that off before, but let's just put it back on. So instant jump to about 175 frames. Running up there, we went down to 125, but we did see 100 without DLSS, so we have got an improvement. So 155, 148. So not quite the jump that we saw when we were playing Cyberpunk, but certainly something that's usable. But certainly still a very good frame rate in the upper 160, 180 at certain points. So it's still doing very well. So now let's just look at our Far Cry results. Then we'll look at some thermals, then we'll do a little conclusion. So Far Cry 5, we saw a high of 128, got a minimum of 93, and then an average of 113. So what I would personally do is just bring your settings down a little bit, get into that 144 Hz realm, like I said before with G-Sync. Then you'll be in a nice smooth realm for that 144 Hz. So after all of that testing, we saw a high temperature of 74 on the memory junction And then the GPU temperature was a high of 63.9, so relatively cool for what we put it through, especially doing some more demanding stuff as well. So however guys, that was the results and benchmarks for the 4070 Founders Edition. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'm going to take this off now as we've done all our thermal tests. In that regard, fairly cool as well with the different style of fans that the Founders Edition cards have to the AIBs. I also did some 3D Mark benchmarks as well, Firestrike and Time Spy. I'll put those on the screen now if you want to check out what kind of results you can get, because it is a free benchmark to download and test. So you can compare what you're currently getting to what you would if you were to use a 4070. In terms of performance of this card, been really impressed, especially with DLSS titles as well. About 3 times the FPS just for one setting, which is pretty incredible. I will touch on this card in a bit more detail, and I think in a future video I do want to do a review, because there is a little bit more to it than obviously that I can do just now. I need some more time with it, and I want to talk about the price and performance and things. So obviously it's quite a talking point at the moment. So I'll also put the full list of DLSS supported games on the screen, and in the description box you'll find the full list of every game that supports some kind of feature that DLSS has. So for example, Nvidia Reflex. It's such a long list, I literally can't fit it all on the screen. So I was really surprised that many games supports it. Even some aspects, but there's a lot of commonly played games on there as well. So like Battlefield 5 is one that stuck out for me, for example. 2042 has some in there as well, so you can get some real FPS gains in there just with a couple of settings that you'll find on even 30 series cards. So I think that wraps it up for this video. I hope you've enjoyed the testing and the overview that I've done. If you have any more questions or comments, leave them down in the description box below. Let me know what you think about the 4070. Is it something you might pick up in the future? Also let me know what you want to see from me in terms of that card and future videos. I think I will do a review at some point once I've got my testing methodology down a little bit better. But I'm looking forward to doing some more with this as well, and some builds. So thank you all for watching. A big thank you to Nvidia for sending this card out for me to look at. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to subscribe and ding the bell so you don't miss a future one. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.